Okay, so let's talk about when you're opening a business bank account. First thing, I would rather choose to do a local small bank versus a large bank just because of the fees and the customer service. I use a local regional bank. Customer service is excellent. I can send an email and my email is answered that day. They reach out to me, they develop a good relationship with me and they care about local businesses. Plus the fees are less. Many local banks will give, free business checking, free business savings accounts to start with. So you're not paying small miscellaneous fees on all these accounts. If you use a bigger bank, yes, you're going to probably have a little bit of fee kind of like slid in there, whether you know it or not. So first step is, I use, a local small bank or regional bank that you can get a great relationship with and kind of skip out on all those fees. Second, the things that you're going to need to open up a business bank account is your driver's license, the business tax ID or the EIN number, and you have to bring in the actual paper sheet. And then you'll have to bring in a check. They're going to ask you to kind of deposit the initial amount. It may be $1,000, it may be $5,000. They're going to ask you to be able to at least deposit initial capital in there. So those are the three things that you're going to need as you go and start your business bank account. And let's go into next the type of accounts that I open. And I love the profit first model. If you want to read a great book about this stuff and how to manage the money within the account, read the book Profit First. I love that concept and how they manage it. I actually was managing my money without reading the book. And then I read the book. I was like, wow, I'm doing 3/4 of this stuff already. So these are the bank accounts that I open, okay, in the business banking. Again, I keep personal finance and business finance completely separate. My personal finance, my investments, my IRAs personally are in separate bank accounts, and you create a separate new one with a business bank account here and keep it separate banks too. So you don't intertwine things and transfer things all over to the wrong account. So the types of accounts that I open up a business checking account. Okay. Normally it's a free business checking. That's the one account that all the money flows into. And I, can pay some bills with, but that's where all the money comes into. And that's the business checking account. Next, I have a business savings account, which is I use that for a emergency fund. So, every week I'll transfer like $500 or $1,000 to that account. And that's just my emergency fund in case stuff happens. Just like in personal finance, they tell us I have 3 to 6 months of reserve funds set for emergencies. Same thing applies to business. I use that business savings account as an emergency fund. I have 3 months of operating expenses in there, just to be safe and secure. If you learned anything from COVID or living in Florida with a hurricane, sometimes you may have to dip into that fund a little bit. So I use that business savings. I use that as my emergency fund, and I just transfer $500 or $1,000 a week into that account, just to build up 3 to 6 months of reserve funds for that. Next, I call it a tax account, which is another checking account. It's a free business checking account. And what I do, because I have a business with 4 or more employees in the state of Florida, they require payroll taxes and to pay taxes weekly now because my business has grown. So, I have paychecks and all that set up that every week we do paychecks and I pay my payroll taxes every week. For the business stuff in Florida, I pay it every quarterly. But the point is that when you get to the end of the month or the end of the quarter and you're supposed to pay taxes, you never want to be like, oh crap, where is the money going to come from? I don't have enough money in the business checking account. So every week or every month, you transfer money from that business checking account to that tax account that you calculate that you're going to owe in taxes. So you and your CPA will kind of guide you on what to do with this, but you never want to get to the point where you have to pay taxes and you don't know where the money's going to come from. There's not enough money in the business checking account for that. So you always want to manage it with a separate tax account, which is a checking account. And you can every month or every week or however you do your taxes in your state, you transfer that money to that tax account, and you you don't touch that money because that's owed to the IRS. And whenever you pay your taxes on it, it's sitting there right there. Say at the end of the quarter, you owe $20,000. There should be $20,000 sitting there, and you manage the money properly. Okay, so that's the next account. Another thing that I like to do is open another free business checking account and have it the expenses account. What are my monthly expenses with rent, health insurance, Con Ed courses, benefits, and stuff like that? What are my monthly recurring things that I have to pay at the end of the month every month? The same principle applies with this. Whenever I have to pay rent, I should be able to go to the expense account and know exactly how much it is. Whenever they deduct my health insurance and the company's health insurance for the employees, I want that money kind of transferred in every week. So every week I transfer $2,000 from the business checking into my expense account. So at the end of the month, when I have to pay rent and I know that all the health insurance stuff is going to be withdrawn, I have to pay the workman's comp stuff and everything, that I have enough money to cover those monthly expenses. So then that comes out of that account. Okay. Again, this is a way, a really good way to manage your money in your business bank account. Another thing I also do is a HSA account. Again, if you have a high deductible healthcare plan, there's a tax benefit for this. Ask your CPA about this, that you can transfer, eventually. I think it's going up in next year, 2024. It may be like $6,000, but I think it was last year was $5,500. You can transfer over to HSA account. That's tax free. So that's pre-tax money. This is why you have to work with your CPA on what things can you do to maximize your money and maximize every kind of benefit that you can. So we have a high deductible healthcare plan. We're able to open up an HSA account, and I can transfer money over there every year for a tax benefit, and it pays for my personal health expenses if myself or my family ever needs it. One thing I don't have in here, but I have in the module copy below, is the profit first model of having an external profit account, meaning it's at another bank. Okay, so profits, you just want to kind of transfer it over and set on automate and let it go. Okay, kind of like investing in the S&P 500. You want to take your $50 or $100 a week, set it on automate, and just let it go and play the long game, and out of sight, out of mind. You don't see it, you don't mess with it, and you just let it go. At the end of every month, you should be able to calculate your profits, take those profits, transfer it to an external bank account. I actually created a Vanguard account. It's a money market account that I transfer all my profits to, and it sits in a money market account. As a worst case scenario, I have access to it. It's not making a lot of money, but that's my profit account. And then at the end of every quarter, I can choose on what I want to do with profits. Do I want to reinvest my profits back into the business? Do I want to take a distribution out and pay myself with it? What do I want to do with profits? That's a whole nother concept on what to do. But the point is that you need to get an external bank account and transfer profits over every month. So it's out of sight, out of mind, and it just builds up with time. And then it's up to you to decide on how you want to manage your profits. So definitely highly recommend that. Take profits, external bank account somewhere, and transfer those profits out of sight, out of mind. Last thing is like a business line of credit. I believe that you should be able to run your business healthy enough where you could self-fund your growth with your startup capital and with profits. Okay. So I've never had to take a business loan out for running my business. My business has been just slowly, steady growing, running on its own capital and own profits. Now, if you start talking to other business owners, a lot of business owners who are way more successful than me recommend getting a business line of credit just in case you run into like emergencies, kind of like COVID, or if you want to fund huge growth and stuff like that. It's up to you to kind of decide that. Right now, you're in the infancy phase. You probably don't have to worry about that. But as you get into adolescent phase and you complete all the courses and you're ready to hire employees and stuff like that, it probably helps to have a business bank line of credit. I do have a business Amex credit card that also has a lot of stuff. So I do have access to capital to invest if I needed to. within a 30-day window, just because that's a credit card. But if you're talking about bigger growth, I don't think you really need the business line of credit currently. Maybe as you get into year 2 and 3 and you're really starting to grow fast, you can look into that stuff. So this will go over, what bank to choose, what you need to do to open up a business bank account, and some of the bank accounts that I use, and how I manage my business money. I hope this helps. If you do want to read a great book, Profit First is a great book on how to manage this. Otherwise, you can have all this stuff now. Go open up your bank accounts and start writing checks to yourself soon as you start seeing patients.